Hello, I'm going to read this passage of Isaac Asimov's book. This is from his third autobiography. It's just a one volume he did. He had done a two-volume one earlier in his life. This one was published a little over 26 years ago in chapter 46 called Job Hunting. I'm going to post as my Lessons in Critical Thinking number 33. Uh, the low point of my job hunting came about as follows. An acquaintance of mine who was employed at Charles Pfizer, a pharmaceutical firm based in Brooklyn, said he had obtained an interview for me with a high official of the firm. The appointment was for 10 a.m. on February 4th, 1949, and you can be sure I was there on time. The official I was to see was not. He did not show up until 2 p.m. It was foolish of me beyond words to sit there for 4 hours through lunch, but it was one of those occasions when I was governed by stubborn rage rather than by good sense. I wasn't going to be driven away in so cavalier a fashion. The official came at last, probably because he was told I showed every sign of refusing to leave until he did come. I was treated with clear indifference, and not too much time was wasted on me. I saw enough of Charles Pfizer to know I didn't want to work there, and would have refused a job if one was offered. But that made no difference. I was in a rage over my treatment, and it is one case in which that rage has never died down. It is as fresh in my heart as though it happened yesterday. I'm not proud of holding a grudge, and I probably would not have done so except for one crowning incident. Despite everything, I had given the official a copy of my carefully produced, carefully bound PhD thesis. I did not expect to impress him, but I had planned to do it, so I did. A few days later, the copy was returned to me in the mail with a brief, cold covering note stating that he was returning my that pamphlet that to my mind was an insult. I could not believe that this miserable being did not know a PhD thesis when he saw it, especially since it said plainly on the cover that it was a PhD thesis. To call it a pamphlet was like calling a writer scribbler, and I have never forgiven him. One closing item about Charles Pfizer. Many years later, they asked me to speak to a group of their executives. They offered me 5,000, and I don't generally haggle over fees. At that time, 5,000 was enough for a talk to be given in Manhattan. However, for Pfizer, I made an exception. I demanded 6,000 and wouldn't budge. They finally agreed. That extra thousand was to assuage my hurt feelings of so many years before. And what's more, after I had completed my speech to considerable applause and pocketed my check, I told them exactly why they had had to pay an additional thousand. It made me feel better. It was small and mean of me, but I'm only human. I had not sought revenge, but it had been handed to me, and I could not refuse. Although the Pfizer incident was the very worst ever in my job hunting, nothing else was much better. I simply couldn't get a job. So this is an example of how our own lives, our own psychohistory affects us, okay? And I've been talking about for years how it affected many great scientists, okay? And Isaac Asimov wouldn't call himself a great scientist, by the way. He's more an accomplished writer, is what he's proud of. So why did I want to mention this? Well, there's a recognizable name in there other than Isaac Asimov, but I wanted to say that I criticize scientists, even the ones alive today, for not learning about their own metapsychology and how their own psychohistory affects their judgment as scientists. As scientists, we need Like I talked about Louis Pasteur, I've talked about Isaac Asimov in uh, a thesis draft, a thesis introduction draft that I wrote that my own faculty didn't really understand where it was going. But all these things are very important, and I don't claim, I do call myself a scientist. I don't claim that it doesn't affect me. I have talked about some examples in some of my videos that say that I'm talking about my own psychohistory. And one of the worst things that prevents me from advancing my sciences is a lack of the ability to find people to collaborate with. Okay, and my course, Master of Science in Ecocentric Sustainability, to develop an ecocentric humanist worldview, is an example of this. I'm nearing the 1 year, and still nobody has had the courage to sign up for this free thing and participate in lifelong learning, personal development, and professional development with me. And I think I've decided I'm going to restart the second year and on March 1st and maybe do another one by myself. Let me just also explain psychohistory. So Isaac Asimov has this fictional science of psychohistory, which is very mathematics based. But in the real life way to define psychohistory is just to evaluate a person's life, such as Hitler, for example, evaluating how his upbringing, the way his mother died, the doctor she had, things like this, his being an artist and his academic career and his there's him, but there's also a culture, is always near various types of tipping points, and tipping points, the way he did things with his public speaking skills, like Isaac Asimov had good public speaking skills above average and, did different things with his, and it's not like he wasn't frustrated with certain things like school. But, people make decisions, and then cultures also have members who make decisions. So evaluating somebody's psychohistory is their own life and how it went a particular direction. But it didn't go that way without them choosing with thousands and millions of decisions to also guide it this way instead of that way. So that's psychohistory in real life. What I talk about as being the professor of socio-cybernetics is what resembles more psychohistory in Isaac's Foundation series of science fiction, except that it doesn't require advanced mathematics. I mean, some mathematics is very useful for that, but it doesn't require it. I don't know. There are things I'm bitter with in my life a little bit, but I can also let them go, and I can also allow that it formed scars on my heart, but those scars are there, and they could be re-triggered a little bit. And so my tone might change when I'm talking about something, but I'll also say, oh, I feel like this right now. Now these are my choices, and this is who I claim to be. So what am I going to choose now? And of course, by bringing out what's inside of me and putting it in public view, of advanced transparency or accountability, is then I'm more likely to make the right decision, for example, and not make the wrong decision. For example, look at this. This is really nice. It was left in a drawer here, and it might have been forgotten, but I think it's more likely was maybe just left here. And it didn't smell like it was a smoker, and I cleaned it, and it looks like it was well taken care of. Now, I don't feel bad having this free thing that somebody left for me. And this was my ex, and my ex kind of abandoned it. Now, I don't have any new foams that I could put to make it more comfortable, but out of the ones that I bought, and she has some of the better ones. Now, I could use a printer in my work right now, so I don't have to go pay for a place to do it. And she has, again, my very good printer. And I'm not far from where she is right now, and she doesn't know I'm here, and I don't need to be in contact with her. And for her, she kind of came out the winner in a Monopoly game where, to have lost her humanity, she ended up with more stuff. And I gave her a lot of things, and some things I said, no, that's my favorite mattress ever that I've ever slept in. And now she has a new husband, she sleeps in it. And I said, well, that is the only thing I'll sell you half price. Everything else is pretty much free or very discounted. And so she has an apartment full of, some of my books, bookcases, computer equipment, old laptops that I had before, all sorts of things. But that's easy to let go. But one thing that I am still bitter about is when I worked with kids from her country's community that were also here from the Philippines, and we made great progress together. As I said, the worst thing you could do, as we separate, something that is unforgivable, is to do anything that prevents the connection that I've made with them to continue or to evolve, and I'm pretty sure she did. So she did things that are unforgivable, but it was easily predictable that she would do that. Now, if she ever writes me the best letter of apology, and tells me in person and reads it to the entire Filipino community that we belong to, would I forgive her? I would say very kind words, but I would also explain why I can't forgive her. Because to forgive something that is so unforgivable, that didn't just hurt me, but that had negative impacts on the young generation, is to lose my humanity. So I would role model, find, giving her feedback of how sincere it was and how amazing and how I'm surprised she did this, but unfortunately that I also cannot forgive those things. Now, I might be able to give her a little bit more trust and keep encouraging her growth. Now, that's not likely to happen, the apology I talked about. But I would also have to say that we lose our humanity when we forgive things that are really unforgivable in real human standards. And there's so many of those things that were done against me. Now, these scars have an impact. And again, one of the ways, and this goes back to the Doctor of Humanics series that I'm going to do part 2 soon, is one of the ways that I am proud and confident of that title is I've learned to rebuild myself from these scars in ways that allows me to function, that is so much beyond the average person, including people that work in fields where they coach people in this way. So that is something I am very proud of. So people, thank you very much for this one. I'm trying to post some songs, some old songs once in a while, just to lighten the mood and just to show you again that, I know how to use my sense of humor. I know how to use various talents that I enjoy, such as musical stuff, to lighten the mood. But the message is the message, and it must be heard, and it must not be ignored. And you can ignore me for the rest of my lifetime, that's okay. But for me to have been a successful human being is I can't deviate from what I believe is the difference between right and wrong. So this wasn't mine, but it's working. This wasn't mine. It was kind of abandoned, and I'm very proud to wear it, because life is not about going back to the Monopoly game and to feeling good about shopping. Life is about feeling good for the thousands of decisions that we have to make every day, and how at night when I'm in my bed and I don't know, or only start with this, and then I review a list of 10 things I did during that day that I'm proud of. But I've been kissing myself more. I miss kissing. So I have to kiss myself, because I don't have a dog to cuddle with right now. I don't have anybody in my life that I can just give kisses to. And this ex, by the way, probably misses my kisses, because at night there'd be a lot of spooting, and I'd kiss her shoulder a lot, like dozens of times. And for me, it was just getting into the comfort of being with another human being in a warm bed of this mattress that I loved, and duvet, and just naturally I would just let this love flow out, and there'd be a lot of kisses. Now imagine falling asleep with somebody having their arm around you and kissing you like that. It's a great thing. She probably misses that. I'm pretty sure the new husband she has doesn't do anything like the things that I did that made her feel loved and appreciated and valued, even as I received scars from her. But again, the worldview she had was, and of course from her culture of origin, was about the Monopoly game, and that's sad.